Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by TheLines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by Nate Weitzer. He's on the East Coast. And we've got 4 games here following up a big slate on Monday. Only 4 games in the NBA on Tuesday. So we're bringing you best bets in this episode with some sides and totals looks. Also got player props up in a separate episode, bringing both of those to you each and every weekday. So make sure to subscribe to that page. Go ahead and give both those videos a like if you're getting anything out of what we're bringing you this season. A little rough in the best bets last night. Definitely took advantage of the player props. So let's turn things around on the best bets to match that success from those props from last night. Nate, again, to your first best bet here for Tuesday night.
Yeah, I mean, back-to-backs galore here. It is a ridiculous slate. We don't have injury report for anyone, but basically 3 teams. But yeah, I'll still take the Bucks minus 5.5 at Portland. They do have 2 days off after this, I believe. And I think maybe just Chris Middleton sits, but they gave Bobby Portis the night off last night. Maybe he returns, and honestly, I'll take that trade for sure against a Portland team that's been winning these like physical, low-scoring battles. I mean, they covered in 5 straight, right? Won 4 straight, but let's not forget who this team is. Previous 4 did not cover, 10 straight double-digit losses at home, including to the Nets and to the Miami Heat. We're in an absolute train wreck. And going down narrative street a little bit here, I mean, this is Dame's second chance to return to Portland. They lost last year. So as we see, revenge goes both ways. The other guys, I believe they were double-digit dogs. The young Blazers were like, we're going to get him. They did. They, in fact, beat Milwaukee again in early January. But I think the Bucks are on a different level. At this point, you look since their blowout against the Knicks, blowout loss, 6-1 straight up, covered in everyone as a favorite, covered 8 of their last 9 as favorites, number 1 offensive and net rating with a bullet in these last 7. Really good assisted field goal ratio, not just like Giannis bully ball, although he should have some success with that against this Blazers team that cannot protect the rim. Hopefully DeAndre Ayton plays, I guess, in that regard, because Kling and Rob will do a little bit of a better job, but I mean, Portland probably not going to do the greatest job on Dame. I wanted to look at some of his props or a parlay, but they are really high because he's playing the best ball since he left Portland. Like, he's played really well in this stretch. 130 offensive rating, 28 and 7.5. I think he finally, sticks it to his former team with a bunch of above the break threes, which is what Portland gives up. And then on the other side, like, Milwaukee's back to their drop D stuff. Allowing the most above the break threes, but holding opponents to 30%. And what do you do? What can you do against Portland? You can stick to Anthony Simons like glue and be completely content with anybody else shooting because they just don't have any other shooting. And so you're telling me you're going to bog it down with like Jeremy Grant and Scoot and Shaedon Sharpe going to the rim against this Bucks team. Like, I'll take the Bucks defense for sure. And I don't think you're stopping us on the other side. Bucks and in the recent back-to-backs, right, blowout wins are double digits over Orlando, Washington. Another blowout win after they had to at least travel from NOLA to Miami, which is sort of a back-to-back situation here. So even though they're a veteran team, like, I just think they're on one right now and that they will take care of business here.
Yeah, I mean, take care of business on the back-to-back. Like, they've got to take care of business in general. They've had a few lapses over the course of this season that have really put them a bit more behind the 8 ball than I think they'd want to be. So I think we can bank on them making sure that they don't have a flimsy loss in the end of January that comes back to bite them because they chose to sit a night out in terms of the effort that they brought against a Portland team that, by the way, has a few wins over the course of its last 7-8 games. Like, they're not a total pushover right now, in part because Denny Avdija is legit. I hope he gets the credit that he deserves this season. He was sort of seen as like a inflated stats bad team guy on the Wiz, and if anybody who watched him play was like, this dude is like a versatile 6'10" guard forward. So like, there's guys on the other team that they're going to have to prep for, and I don't think they're going to take this one not seriously, especially with Dame going up against the old squad. So I'm with this one, especially because we get them in a situation that they're at least going to be decently rested now as opposed to back-to-backs. But let me get the Houston-Atlanta game up here. We're going to be talking about all 4. So I'm going to be talking about this one through the lens of we don't know who's playing, but I still think 6.5 points for Houston is good enough. Now, if Trey is ruled in, you might get a better number here. We're still waiting on injury reports. Both these teams are on the second leg of that back-to-back, as you mentioned at the top of the show. So we definitely need to wait for some stuff. But I'm willing to go 6.5 with Houston honestly, with or without Trey, I mean, if we get Trey in, I think we'll be able to get this under 5 and closer to like 4.5, 5 points. So that's where I'd also be taking it. So I'm waiting on the news here to see, but we should at least talk about how Jalen Johnson's not playing. Even if we get random, like Dyson Daniels was ruled out randomly. We got Reese Shea coming off injury. We got Bogey coming off illness. So I don't know who's going to play for Atlanta, but the likelihood that there's fewer guys than their full roster pretty high in this one. They're 18-18 this season with Jalen Johnson playing. They're 4-6 without him. Not the biggest difference there, but I will say they're 7 points fewer per game that they're scoring. They're also allowing a few points fewer per game. So the margin of victory and the sort of plus minus for them with Jalen Johnson is notable, even if the record is 500 with him and just below 500 without him. You look in more closely at the games and the amount that they're winning or losing by. Big deal here. Houston, number 1 road team against the spread, covering 16 of 22 road games this season. Plus 4.5 against the spread as well. Margin of victory about 11, and that's when they're road team as the favorite too. I should say, really good stuff as well. 9-4 against the spread. That's where they're plus 11 on the margin of victory overall. When they're an away favorite, they're winning games by double digits on average, covering the spreads when they're a favorite on the road by about 6 points per game. So that would indicate they're probably much more likely to win this game closer to double digits based on the history of what they've done on the road this season. Atlanta, not very good, covering at home, 8-13 against the spread. I suppose a bit better, but they've had some decent road games as well. So it's basically just that they're actually, their record-wise against the spread is a bit better on the road here for Atlanta. So that's something to keep in mind. But at home in this one, if we look at them over the course of the season without Jalen Johnson, obviously the points, the pace goes down, the offensive rating, the defensive rating goes up, the rebounding goes down as well, the transition points drop. Everything that he does super well. I mean, we really got to note him as the clear-cut second-best player on this team that is like essentially 1B to the level of importance that Trae Young is. There's just no way around it. Without Jalen Johnson, you're just a Trae Young, Clint Capella pick-and-roll factory, essentially, and you don't really have much depth outside of that. If you look at Houston, though, they actually are first in offensive rating in their last 10. They are 21st in defensive rating during that time. To be fair, they are number 1 in terms of hardest strength of schedule, not even close. If you talk about the teams they've played in the last 10, Nate, twice against Memphis, twice against Cleveland, once against Boston, once against Sac, once against Denver. They had some pushover games against Portland and Washington, and then they actually lost to Detroit, by the way, who should be talked about as the 6th best team in the East right now, playoff squad. So there's just really 2 sort of cupcakes, and everybody else was either one of the best teams in the league or, so they prove themselves to me. And I tried to say that yesterday before they beat Boston. I texted my Houston Rockets friends that I have, and I was like, I want you guys to know I'm on the bandwagon before they win tonight. So you don't just think I'm taking them after a nice win at Boston. The couple of things, too, I just want to bring up. They are attacking the crap out of the paint. They're just going at it. Amin Thompson being out there is a clear-cut reason why their drives as a team have increased over the course of the last 10 games, because this man is shot out of a cannon for 42 minutes of basketball. Absolute pleasure to watch Amin Thompson play basketball right now. It's a big reason why they're 6th in free throw attempt rate over the course of the last 10, with him out there playing at least 35 plus minutes. And you've got Onyeka Okongwu starting and getting more minutes than Clint Capella these days. And that has led to the Atlanta Hawks being the bottom 5 paint defense over the course of those last 7 or 8 games that we've seen Onyeka out there. Just doesn't seem like it's a right matchup for Atlanta. So even on the back-to-back, both these teams are. I'll go ahead and take the Houston Rockets after a big win at Boston.
Yeah, what a crazy schedule for Houston. I mean, 3rd and 4 nights, then they get one night off, then they're in Memphis again on 3rd and 4 nights. Then they get one home game, and then they get 4 more tough road games. Cool. But they don't take nights off. So I think this is the side. If you're going to bet it, I might hit the under here and just hope Trae Young doesn't play, and then we assume it's kind of a gross game. But honestly, Keaton Mitchell, right, has kept the offense going. I think it's probably fine whether Trae's in there or not. But Jalen Green questionable on the other side. Like, I just don't think we're going to get a ton of offense. This is not the Hawks, free-flowing Hawks we've seen before. The last few with Jalen Johnson have been ugly, man. Yeah. So, and Houston can muck it up, can get physical with anybody, keep this thing down if that's what it requires.
Shout out Villain Brooks, 10 made threes last night against the Celtics. Game of his freaking life.
Yeah, and that ain't happening again. I mean, he was streaky for a while last month, where he hit like 4 threes or so in a row. But yeah, Houston's offense is probably going to take a step back with him out there. Let me take the points with the Jazz plus 12, and I mean, wide range of outcomes here with the injury report. of course, theme of the night. But we do know Draymond and Kuminga are out for the Warriors. We do know the Dubs have been playing way below expectations all season, and set now 4-8 against the spread with a rest advantage, 3-10 against the spread as a favorite since the middle of December, and 1-3 against the spread on the season as a double-digit favorite. And I think even if the Jazz tip their hand by saying Walker Kessler, John Collins not going to play after sitting the front end, Markkanen's not going to play after playing the front end, and we're going to just play the young guys, the development guys. But if that happens, the Warriors, who have OKC at home on Wednesday, are probably going to be like, okay, let's like rest Steph, or let's only play him like 25 minutes, and let's just try to get out of here with a win. So I think it'll be kind of a fair fight either way, just kind of looking at each other across the aisle. And I mean, these are the 25th and 27th defenses in the last 10. And no coincidence that you lose Draymond Green, your defense going to get even worse. Dubs also worst above the break 3-point D in the league in that span, also giving away like 20 points off turnovers, always been their Achilles heel. The offense is clunky. They're just not really going to be able to blow teams out. Jazz, they struggled against physical teams the last two, like 64 paint points to the Bucks, similar to the Grizz. But otherwise, like this is a finesse team. Like the Warriors are not going to crush you in the paint. They're not going to get to the free throw line the way these other teams did. And the Jazz do have the 8th best above the break 3 defense and limiting shots at the rim recently. Certainly, if you get Kessler back in there, you will be able to limit both. But I mean, you just have a bunch of try-hard young guys out on the wing, and this is the point in the NBA season where like the veterans are a little bit low on gas, and these try-hard guys are going to be able to fly around and at least make it tough here. Love Isaiah Collier. I mean, if you do get that kind of injury report where X, Y, and Z is out, just take his props and don't worry about the spread here. But for what it's worth, Jazz have covered this number in 12 straight trips to the Warriors. And that goes back to when they were the Warriors, the dynasty, the absolute best team. So the fact that they didn't necessarily bring it in their last 2 games, don't let that be fooled. Like, they might at least get a couple guys back in the lineup here and give this a full try.
Yeah, I mean, Isaiah Collier to the moon. Let's not talk about him too much. We're still getting really good numbers on his props, so I'd really love to remain a little bit below the public awareness line there. There's also just like, we're probably going to keep getting good numbers because he's starting. It's clear that Will Hardy loves this dude, and he's starting now over Keontae George, who, like, shout out Will Hardy again. Like, Keontae George has not been good, and head coaches are too often like, well, Keontae George was taking it, with a lottery pick or close to it, and this guy Collier's more that late first round guy up. So what? Like, Collier's already better than Keontae George as a distributor. He's certainly not the liability that Keontae George has been on defense. So we're going to keep getting 28 to 32 minutes of Isaiah Collier with Lowry Markkanen, without Lowry Markkanen, with John Collins without him, with Clarkson without him. I do believe this guy is going to be the future. Love Isaiah Collier. So I'll keep betting his assists. He got 8 of them last night, plus money over 6.5 was his line, which you might not get until a few minutes before game time. So keep that in mind. But let me close it out in the last game we haven't talked about. Philly and the Lakers, historic franchise game here. Money line for the Lake Show and Max Christie, SGP. If you put a little same game parlay there, I'm taking Max Christie on the over 8.5 points. And the plus 155 on Bet365 is what you get when you parlay those together for the Lake Show money line with Max Christie. The points for him, they might get bumped up to 9.5 before game time. I think he's good for 32, 33 minutes at least in this game. He's going to be the Tyrese Maxey defender. So that's the first angle here with Max Christie, is like, you're going to have him out there damn near mirroring Tyrese Maxey's minutes, although Maxey could play close to 40. So it's not like he'll be out there for that many, but he'll be out there for 32 plus. That's what I believe in. And the Lakers, since losing D'Lo and adding Max Christie minutes to the lineup, are in the top 5 limiting point guards, which is not something I thought we'd say talking about the Lakers anytime over the last 2 to 3 seasons. They've just been awful above the break. They've had no spear to head to their defense. And now Max Christie is a madman on defense, looking like his dad, Doug Christie, who was a problem as well on defense for guys. So I'm going to keep believing in him, his minutes, because of that. I'm going to believe in his ability to at least limit what Tyrese Maxey is doing a bit more. And if you look at him in 30 plus minutes per game, and he's played most of those in the last roughly like 20 games because he got inserted into the starting lineup and has been averaging 32 minutes per game, 33 and a half actually. He's over in actually 14 of 18 games with 30 plus minutes now on the season. And everything for him is in the corner 3 or it's going to the bucket because he is playing below the break there, waiting for some spot up stuff, which he'll be able to get against this team. I mean, Philly, pretty good spot up defense on the season. They're running out of guys, man. We're going to have no Drummond. We're going to have everybody that missed last game is out, except for Kyle Big Booty Lowry. He's going to be in for whatever that does. But no Kyle Martin, no KJ Martin, no Caleb Martin, no Drummond, no Embiid, and obviously no Jared McCain, and no Paul George, we should mention as well. So I'm not sure. Like, Maxi's got to go for 40 for this team to win. Kelly Oubre can do his 20-point, 10-rebound thing, and I do like Kelly Oubre in this game as the second best player, an offensive playmaker, not playmaker, but finisher for the 76ers, and rebounder as well, because he's playing with 6'8" Yabusele out there. So I just don't see how Philly's going to even hang, even if like AD plays fewer minutes, LeBron takes a seat perhaps. It's a national televised game, so I got to imagine they're going to give most of their guys a go, and that they're hoping to at least get past Charlotte to get to this one. They inch past Charlotte. Not going to be the easiest game in the world, but I'll take them with the money line and Max Christie to do his thing over like 33 minutes of playing time.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it, the Sixers 2-14 against the spread against the West, 1-8 against the spread as a home favorite. So you'd be crazy to put your money down on this team with that injury report, the one we know that is going to be a bad injury report. I think, yeah, JJ Redick might just be like, let's just face guard Maxey. Let's just deny, keep the ball away from him. So I would look at an under for him more than anything, maybe on the assists as well as the points, just like saying like, we got to take him out, see if anybody else can do something here for the Sixers squad. And then AD, has a huge matchup advantage on that end. I think he'll get it done, but not necessarily looking at the run to get his props, which are high after that monster game against Charlotte. So I think you're playing this right here. Just going to hope that both LeBron and AD are active.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, both of them out, and this game looks a lot closer. Now we've got the Austin Reeves versus Tyrese Maxey showdown or whatever, we'll see. But that is all the time we have for you in Best Bets. Definitely make sure to subscribe to that page. We've also got an episode up with player prop bets in there for you. So until we see you next, happy betting.